Welcome to the Level Up Show. This is a place where you can come to be at peace and reset unhealthy patterns. Together, we will build our faith and level up to make a difference in the world. Hi, I am your host, Olivia.K. I help people gain unwavering faith and inner peace to make a positive ripple effect and leave an abundant legacy for their family, for their community, and even extending globally. You may have been much like myself. When I was, maybe you were 17, 18, or even 19 when we graduate, I thought I understood most things. I thought I knew what was best for my life. This show is dedicated to the graduate class of 2026, titled If I Only Knew. This is knowledge I would have given to my younger self. Lesson number 1: attitude is everything. There was this boy, his name was Tony. He grew up in a broken home. There was a lot of arguing and fighting. It was very low income. Their food was scarce. When holidays would come, like Thanksgiving, most families would sit down and have a feast, a big turkey dinner with all of the fixins, like stuffing, rolls, mashed potatoes, multiple salads, and even a selection of pies. This wasn't Tony's family. His family would be lucky to have crackers and peanut butter. His mom had an anger issue. When she drank, she hit. It was very volatile in his family. And his dad, well, he was really stressed and overwhelmed about money. Over the years, Tony had multiple fathers. One Thanksgiving, there was a knock at the door. Tony was curious, who could this be? So he goes to the door and he was met with another man. He was met with a man on the other side of the door. He had a top hat on, he had a beard, he had a jacket on, and he, wasn't too dressy. He was pretty casual. He stood there, he looked at Tony. He held a pie in his hand and a bag in his hand. One hand he had a pie, and the other hand he had a bag. And he said to Tony, I would like to give you this Thanksgiving dinner. Tony didn't quite know what to say. So he hurried and he ran and he went to go get his father. He said, "Dad, somebody's at the door. Come, hurry." He was excited because he thought his dad would be really, really happy. And he thought that this would be a chance for his family to have one really nice Thanksgiving together. So as he got his dad up and his dad went to the door, the gentleman said the same thing. "I have this Thanksgiving dinner that I would like to bless you with." His dad, instead of receiving it well, he turned angry and he said, "No, I don't want this. What are you doing? Pretty much get out of here." He didn't want to have anything to do with this gift. As a matter of fact, it was very clear that he was insulted. So Tony tries to calm his dad down and says, "It's okay, Dad. Why don't we just take it? Why don't we just take this?" So Tony's dad clearly rethought it and he said, "Okay for now." And they gathered the gift. Tony's dad slammed the door. They ended up eating that meal. And it was kind of uncomfortable sitting at the table. You can imagine Dad felt insulted and probably even ashamed that he wasn't the one that provided that meal for their family. Shortly after that, Tony's dad left, never to see him come home again. It was the last Thanksgiving dinner that Tony was able to have with his birth father, and he was gone. Tony knew that there must be more to life. He stumbled across this motivated speaker. He heard this guy talking about what could be and what we can make of ourselves, and how so much of this had to do with the way that you thought about things. Tony was really inspired by this. It set a fire down in his soul. So from that moment on, Tony knew that something could be different. He decided there has to be a way. There has to be a way to live a better life. So what Tony did is he went down into the bank, and Tony at the time was a high school student. He was earning money. He had 2 to 3 jobs, working long hours, even midnight hours, going and cleaning. He was a custodian, one of his jobs. All the while he was attending his last years of high school. He goes into this bank and he asked for a loan. And lo and behold, he ends up getting turned down. The woman on the other side said, "This isn't possible." Tony, in being persistent as he was, he tried to convince her and explain to her why he needed this money, why it was so important for him to get this money. And the reason why he wanted this money is he wanted to use it towards an education, learning what that speaker, that motivative speaker was talking about. It was like a program, a coaching program, or some sort of a motivative type of program to help you live a better life. So he explained to the woman on the other side of the counter at the bank how desperately he really needed this money and how that money was a whole month's pay for him. But he knew that if he was able to access this money, that his life could be so much better. Well, as she said no, he walked away. But that wasn't it for Tony, because he came back. He went back and he asked a second time, "Are you sure? Is there a way? We've got to figure something out." And he doesn't know exactly what he said or how it happened. He's not even sure if uh, how this ended up working out. But what ended up working out is the woman ended up giving him this loan. And to this day, he doesn't know if that loan was actually a personal loan or if it was a loan that was given to him from her personally. He's not sure if it was like from her or if it was actually from the bank. Part of One of the things that, hold on here, I'm just thinking for a second, if you could hold with me. Just take a deep breath as you're listening. What is this bringing up for you? I just want you to feel your emotions for just a second. What ended up happening here as I'm talking is I was following my notes, and I'm just being really open with you here. I was following my notes and I accidentally skipped a page as I was talking. So let's get back to the story. So so then Tony, he ends up getting this loan. He goes to this event. He uses that money as he thought. It was an event that he went to. So he wanted to, it was either an event or something that he purchased so he could learn the method and everything that this man was talking about. He was just so on fire. It was in his heart where he knew, I have to do this. So he went, and then he actually applied that, all of that information, or most of that information, to his life. And that was a turning point for, you may know the name, Tony Robbins. You possibly have also heard this story. But yes, I'm speaking about Tony Robbins. The Tony Robbins who has taken his experience from not being always having meals at home, or having those crackers and peanut butter for Thanksgiving if he was lucky, to being a person who raises billions of dollars to give out billions of meals to those in need. Tony also helps people heal through their attitude. An attitude of gratitude can be very healing. He helps people find their way. This all happened through one decision. He, Tony, made made the decision to make a difference. He decided to lead the way. He decided that he would be the first. Even if his family couldn't do that, he wanted to be the first in the family because he knew and he had hope. He knew that there had to be a better way. He knew that there was possibility. Tony also, he's empowered over 50 million people. He's also known as a best-selling author, and he oversees more than 100 private businesses that generate over 7 billion in annual revenue. There's a documentary that Tony was mentioned in, or is about his date with destiny, which is a program that he created for couples and spouses to rebuild their marriage, to give them hope, and to create a destiny that was abundant. Tony provides clean water to hundreds and thousands of people in India to combat waterborne diseases. I mean, that's amazing. I think about that when you see those commercials. It's hard for some of us who are listening to fathom to drinking water that is dirty, very dirty, where people bathe in it, where animals drink from it. But that's their only choice. Tony's made a way to help those people in India. Tony provides support programs for youth, prisons, and also the homeless. I'm convinced that life is 10% what happens to me and 90% how I react to it. Quote from Charles Window. And I say, choose your attitude wisely. You will harvest the fruit it produces. You will harvest the fruit it produces. This means good or bad, or not at all. Lesson number 2. Your decisions dictate your destiny, big or small. Your decisions dictate your destiny. My dad was diagnosed with cancer. He was given 6 short months to live. You can probably imagine, if you had this news, how devastating it would be, not only to the person with the sickness, but also the family members and the friends. Well, he had suffered with a chronic illness. It was a back pain. This was going on for over a couple of decades. He was suffering with, well, he knew suffering as a close companion. He was no, he was, it was like, what I'm saying is he was used to it. It became who he was. Sickness was part of his life. But now he got a diagnosis of cancer in a short time to live. A little bit also about my dad is he had to retire early, in his early mid 40s, because of this debilitating pain. Oftentimes he would spend days sitting in a chair with these chronic headaches or migraines that would just overtake him and accompany this horrible back pain. But my dad was a worker. He was a he used his hands, so he loved to build and create. He was a woodworker, and he would be, back when I was young, busy in the fields because we had a farm. In later days, he turned his craft into that woodworking, and he was always out there maintaining the lawn and being very busy. As a matter of fact, he was out there doing the snow, plowing the snow just a few days prior to his passing. So I grieved over my dad's sickness, over most of my life, my adult life, anyways, because he suffered so much. I was suffering, hoping that he could be better. So now we get this diagnosis that he's dying. So I was, in a sense, grieving, a lot of my life. I grieved now that he was dying, or that we knew he was dying, that now here I am, a whole different type of grief, watching him be sick and all of that. But now he's got this diagnosis of death. So I was grieving. Is my dad going to go to hell or is he going to go to heaven? I didn't know what was going on, so I grieved. I prayed a lot, I fasted, and I really hoped for the best. I grieved knowing that time was short. This grief happened to affect my health. This affected my health in a way where I had chronic fatigue. And if you're not familiar, this means you're down for the count, kind of like the flu, or when you're recovering the flu, where you are bedridden and you just don't have any energy in you to get up and go. I was consumed by fear. And oftentimes we know that fear, it will create a sickness. Fear produces sickness at some point in our life. So then my dad ends up passing away in 2018. This was 2 short years after his diagnosis. Well, I felt really blessed because I was able to be by his side when he did pass. My mom on one side, I on the other. We were able to hold hands and see him in those last moments. Well, I'll also have to say that it was a blessing because I had peace in the process of his passing. In that time, I was just thanking the Lord because he wasn't suffering. He seemed more at peace than he ever had. All the days that I had remember because my memory was my dad being sick. So this grief that I have had, there was a different type of grief. So I was moving through so many different types. So it was before he passed, then knowing he was going to pass, then after he was passing. After my dad passed, I was overcome by a completely different grief. I grieved that I don't know where he's at. I grieved that this was final. I'm not going to see him again. I grieved that a part of my soul was missing, and my heart seemed it was definitely feeling attached to him, and it left me feeling confused, ungrounded, and unsure. It was 6 months after his death that I was still really experiencing this deep grief. I knew this wasn't normal. I realized the grief was taking its toll on me. So I made a decision. I knew I needed to make a change. I needed to do something different. I needed to find my way out of this grief. I needed to process it a different way, find a way to release it, let go of it, and be set free from this pain that was consuming me. So, what I did is I bought a coaching program, something similar to what Tony did. This wasn't a grief program. What this program did is it helped me retrain my thoughts. This is called the neuroscience way. What I did is I went to work to changing my beliefs, which changed my thoughts. It changed my feelings, and it changed my decisions that gave me different results. I wanted and needed peace. I wanted to know what my full potential was. I wanted to live in my purpose. And that's why out of that experience of those years, it was a couple years that allowed me to find that peace, my full potential and purpose in Christ. And I became an author of Making Jesus Your Habit, one day at a time. It's a 60-day devotional to help people pursue their full potential, purpose, and peace in Christ. I want to share a little blurb from my book on page 39. In the word for this day, this was a fruit for thought, which is throughout my book. And the word is enough. All the Lord provides today is enough. All the Lord provides today is enough. In the thing that I have today, and it is enough, I have hope. I hope you have hope too. Well, my book, Making Jesus Your Habit, if you're interested, you can find it on Amazon and everywhere books are sold. And it's from me, Olivia.K. I also became I became the author, and then I also became certified in coaching and leadership. So I joined the John Maxwell leadership team, and I became certified in speaking as well. You can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. I promise you that. Lesson number 3. I would have told myself, I would have learned, I would have given this advice to myself long ago. Christ is king. As simple as that. I didn't come to know Christ till I was about 31. I was living the life. I thought it was good. I had a great job. I was doing hair, which is what I loved. I was around good people. All was well. But I did come to find out that my lifestyle was off. I was living in sin without knowing it. I wasn't living God's way, but the world's way. I was headed for destruction for sure. Everything that I was doing, it did seem harmless. Hey, I wasn't hurting anyone. I was kind, responsible. I was determined. I was honest, hardworking, and I generally cared for others. But one night, I was at a party. The hair, what do you call it? The salon that I worked at, which was downtown Birmingham in Michigan. It was a very cool salon, and we were a beautiful space. And the owner of the salon was hosting a party, which I was at. And I striked up conversation. I was talking to this gentleman who asked me some questions. And one of the questions he asked me was, "Do you know Jesus?" And I had to confess, no. And so we continued to talk. And in that conversation, he asked if it would be okay if he bought a book for me. And I didn't turn him down, and I said, sure. And the book that he had bought, I believe, was, oh, geez, I just forgot the name of it. Excuse me. This book was Sermon on the Mount, I think was the name of it. And he just introduced Jesus to me. And he prayed for me. And in that time of that conversation, and a couple days after knowing him, of having this book, I decided to pray and receive Jesus Christ into my heart. I really wanted to know him. And so I invited him in, and I wanted to understand him. So I started to go to church. I started to pray. I started to read the Bible, which is life. We know that the Bible is spiritual food, and living a life without the Bible is like not eating your spirituality, not feeding your spirituality, I should say. So I love to, at the time, I was speaking, I was a teacher and I was teaching health class, bringing health to people through movement. So my life was not right at that time. I had to immediately break off a relationship because when I met Jesus and invited him into my heart, he made it clear that I needed to end some things and end them briefly. And yeah, so God opened my eyes. He showed me the way. He showed me the way to a whole new world. It was a new way of thinking. My beliefs started to change. I knew that God loved me and that he was my father. I know that he wants good for me, and he also wants good for you. I knew that he was preparing a place for me because the Bible tells me that. Not just for me, but for you too. Our home is heaven. I know that God is not mad at me for the choices that I have made. And He's here to help me. He's here to comfort not just me, but this is for you too, to help us, to comfort us, and to lift us up, to give us hope. So I walked away from my old life because I became new. And by this choice, by this decision, I finally in my life felt complete. I didn't feel lost. Felt held. I felt protected and guided. It was like I counted. I had, it was like I counted, like means I mattered. It was like I mattered. And I had a truth. And then my purpose was clear. I had this reason and I had this path to follow. And I got the direction for my path through the Bible, and I still have that. I still do that every day. I seek Jesus. I seek the Lord through the Word. So what I was destined and created for didn't come from me alone. I knew this, and where I am now, it definitely does not come from me. It comes from the Father. It comes from God. And I realized that I had a gift inside of me to give. Before, I didn't understand quite what that was. I learned that I have a message to tell. And it's to tell people that they are loved, that they are forgiven, and they are not forgotten. My message is to share the truth about the King of Kings and the Lord above any Lord. It's about Jesus Christ, that He is the truth, that He is the way. And in John 14:6, it says, Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So I pray for you graduates and all you families out there. Heavenly Father, I lift up the sister, the brother, the person who is listening right now. Lord, I pray that you open their eyes to see just how important they are to you. I pray that their ears are open and that they can hear you, that we can all hear you and understand your ways. Lord, please protect us from things that are not true. Please protect us and help us discern the difference between truth and lies. Lord, I pray that our voices that may be silenced turn into voices that speak about the one and true King, about his love, and about the path to heaven, the one and true path. I say, let us go make a difference of ourselves. To you, beloved, you graduate, you can do all things through Christ who gives you strength. So I say, go make something of yourself. Change yourself in order to change the world. That's my quote for you today. I leave you with change yourself in order to change the world. Another way to put it is develop yourself. I also say, don't wait, or it might be too late. I thank you for your time today, for you've spent with me. And if you want to learn more information about who I am and what I do, you're welcome to contact me at buildingchristianroots.com. buildingchristianroots.com. Until next time, you be blessed. Know that God loves you, and so do I. Much love, Olivia.K.